There was a specific moment, not a gradual realization, not a slow personal journey. One specific moment where everything changed for me. I was sitting there, scrolling through comments on something I had posted online, and I noticed something strange happening inside me. A good comment would come through, and I'd feel this little rush, this warm, satisfying feeling. And then a negative one would appear, and suddenly that warm feeling was completely gone, replaced by something uncomfortable, something tight in my chest. And I sat there thinking, wait, I just handed a complete stranger the remote control to my emotional state. Someone I have never met, will never meet. Someone who spent maybe 4 seconds typing something. That person just decided how I feel about myself today. That was the moment I realized I had a problem. Not a small problem, not a quirk. A genuine, deep, invisible problem that was quietly running my life behind the scenes. And here's what made it worse. I didn't even know it was happening. I thought I was confident. I thought I had thick skin. I thought I didn't care what people thought. But the truth? I was addicted to approval in a way that I couldn't even see clearly. So I made a decision that day. I was going to figure out where this came from, why it had so much power over me, and more importantly, how to actually break free from it. What happened after that decision completely changed how I experience my life every single day. And that's exactly what this video is about. Not theory, not motivation, just the raw, honest truth of what life actually looks like when you stop letting other people define you. Let's get into it. Here's something I want you to think about for a second. How many decisions did you make today, just today, based on what someone else might think? The outfit you chose, the caption you rewrote 3 times before posting, the opinion you kept to yourself in a meeting because you weren't sure how it would land, the thing you really wanted to say to someone, but didn't because you were worried about being judged. Most people, if they sat down and actually counted, would be shocked at how many of their daily choices are quietly filtered through one question: what will people think of me? And the crazy part is, we don't even notice it anymore. It's become so automatic, so deeply wired into how we operate, that it just feels normal. It feels like just being a responsible, self-aware person. But it's not. It's a prison. And the dangerous thing about this particular prison is that there are no visible walls, no locks, no guards. You're completely free to walk out at any time. But most people never do because they don't even realize they're inside. And at the center of this invisible prison is one thing, one very specific emotion that quietly controls more human behavior than almost anything else. Shame, not guilt. Shame is different. Guilt says I did something bad. Shame says I am something bad. Guilt is about behavior. Shame is about identity. And when shame gets attached to your identity, it stops being a feeling you experience occasionally. It becomes a lens you see everything through. You start hiding parts of yourself. You start performing a version of yourself that feels safer, more acceptable, more approved of. And every day you do that, the gap between who you actually are and who you're pretending to be gets a little wider. And that gap, that exhausting, heavy gap, is what most people are quietly carrying around every single day of their lives. The loneliness that comes from that gap is real. You can be surrounded by people, friends, family, colleagues, and still feel completely unseen because the version of you that's showing up isn't actually you. That's the invisible prison. And most people will live their entire lives inside it without ever questioning whether the walls are even real. So how do we get here? How does a person end up so wired to seek approval that it quietly runs their entire life? This didn't happen by accident. Think about this. From the moment you were old enough to watch a screen, you were being fed a very specific message, over and over and over again in 1,000 different ways. And that message was simple. You are not enough yet. Not enough yet. But you could be if you buy this, wear this, look like this, live like this, drive this, achieve this. Advertising figured out something very powerful a long time ago. The most effective way to sell something is not to show someone a product. It's to first make them feel a quiet sense of lack, a subtle feeling that something is missing, that who they currently are is slightly less than who they should be. And then, conveniently, here's the thing that will fix that feeling. That's not marketing. That's psychological manipulation at scale. And we've all been swimming in it since we were children. On top of that, add social media. Now suddenly you're not just being compared to an unrealistic advertisement. You're being compared to everyone you actually know. Real people, or carefully curated, filtered, highlight real versions of real people. Living lives that look better, happier, more successful than yours. And your brain, which is wired for social comparison because it helped our ancestors survive. Your brain takes all of that information in and starts doing math. Unconscious, automatic, brutal math. Where do I rank? Am I enough? What do people think of me? Here's what that does over time. It trains you to outsource your sense of self-worth to external sources, to other people's reactions, to likes, comments, approval, validation. Your dopamine, the brain chemical responsible for motivation and reward, starts getting hijacked. Instead of coming from real, meaningful sources, it starts coming from notifications, from people's reactions, from being seen in the right way. And once that rewiring happens, once your brain learns that approval from others feels good and disapproval feels threatening, you become incredibly easy to control, not by one person, but by the invisible social pressure of everyone around you all at once. That's where the disease comes from. Not weakness, not personal failure. A system that was specifically designed to make you feel this way. Understanding that changes everything. Because now it's not about blaming yourself for being trapped. It's about consciously deciding to step out. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. Once I understood that shame was the root of most of what was holding me back, the next question was obvious. How do you actually get rid of it? And the answer I found was not what I expected. It was almost uncomfortable how simple it was. You forgive yourself. Completely, radically, almost to the point where it feels delusional. Now, before you roll your eyes, hear me out. Because this is not the fluffy, surface-level love yourself advice you've heard 100 times. This is something much more specific and much more powerful. Most people carry a mental list. It's not written down anywhere, but it's always there. A running list of every embarrassing moment, every bad decision, every time they said the wrong thing, every mistake they made, going back years, sometimes decades, and they revisit that list constantly, usually in quiet moments. Usually right before sleep. The brain pulls up an old file, and suddenly you're reliving something that happened when you were 19 and feeling the exact same shame you felt back then. That mental list is the anchor. It's what keeps people stuck in the past while their actual life is happening right now in front of them. So what does radical self-forgiveness actually look like? It means looking at every single thing on that list. Every cringeworthy moment, every decision you regret, everything you're ashamed of, and making a conscious decision that it does not define you, not because it didn't happen. It happened, but because you are not the same person who did that. And more importantly, because the past does not get to own your present. You keep going with this until it almost feels silly, until you can think about your most embarrassing memory and actually laugh at it, not because you don't care, but because you've made peace with it so completely that it no longer has any emotional charge. That's the target. That's where you're aiming. And here's why this works on a practical level. Shame lives in hiding. The moment you stop hiding something from yourself, from others, its power over you disappears almost instantly. Shame cannot survive being looked at directly. It only has power in the dark. When you forgive yourself that completely, something shifts. You stop performing. You stop filtering. You stop spending mental energy managing what people think of you. Because you've already decided that your definition of yourself comes from you, not from anyone else. That decision, that one internal shift, is the foundation of everything else. Let me tell you what this actually looked like in practice, because I don't want this to stay abstract. The first thing I did was turn off notifications. All of them. Comments, likes, reactions, gone. And at first it felt uncomfortable, like I was missing something, like I was somehow falling behind or becoming irrelevant. That discomfort itself was information. It told me exactly how dependent I had become on that external feedback loop. After about a week, something interesting happened. I started noticing that I had more mental space. Thoughts that used to get interrupted by a notification or a comment or a reaction, those thoughts had room to finish now. I could sit with an idea longer. I could be more present in actual conversations with actual people in front of me. The second thing I did was stop explaining myself. This one was harder. I had this habit, a very common habit, of over-explaining my decisions to people, justifying my choices, preemptively defending myself against judgments that hadn't even been made yet. When I stopped doing that, two things happened. First, I had a lot more energy. Explaining yourself constantly is exhausting in a way you don't notice until you stop. Second, and this surprised me, people actually respected me more. There's something about someone who makes a decision and stands behind it quietly that commands a different kind of respect than someone who constantly needs you to understand and approve of them. The third thing, and this was the biggest one, I stopped reading the mental list. Every time my brain tried to pull up an old embarrassing memory and make me feel bad about it, I made a deliberate choice. I acknowledged it, and then I let it go, not by fighting it, not by telling myself to stop thinking about it, but by genuinely deciding that was in. I was doing my best with what I knew. It is what it is, and I am not that moment. Over time, and it didn't take as long as I expected, the list got shorter. The memories lost their emotional weight, and I started experiencing something I hadn't felt in a long time. Lightness. Just genuine, simple lightness. Here's a reframe that changed everything for me, and I want you to actually sit with this one. What if you treated your life like a video game? Not in a careless way, not in a nothing matters way, but in the way that actually makes someone good at a game. You play with full effort. You care about doing well. But when your character dies, when you fail a level, make a mistake, get wrong, you don't sit there for 3 days feeling ashamed about it. You just hit restart and try again with the information you now have. Think about how you play an actual game. You don't carry shame from level 3 into level 7. You don't lie awake at night embarrassed about a wrong turn you took an hour ago. You just keep playing. You stay present. You focus on what's in front of you right now. That's the mindset. That's actually it. And here's what's fascinating. The people who live this way, the people who are genuinely content, genuinely light, genuinely present, they're not the ones who have the most. They're not the ones who achieve the most. They're the ones who stopped taking the game so seriously that they forgot it was supposed to be fun. There's a quote that has stuck with me for a long time. Alan Watts said, "Most of man's misery comes from taking very seriously what God made for fun." Read that again. Let it land. We were not designed to carry shame like a backpack for decades. We were not designed to spend our lives performing for strangers. We were not designed to lie on our deathbeds thinking, "I wish I had worried more about what people thought of me." Nobody thinks that at the end. Nobody. What people think at the end is, "I wish I had enjoyed it more. I wish I had been more present. I wish I had played the game instead of spending my whole life terrified of losing." All right, 3 things. Simple, practical, starting today. Number 1, map your dopamine sources. Get a blank piece of paper. Draw a line down the middle. On one side, write every positive, meaningful source of good feeling in your life. Family, movement, real conversations, creative work. On the other side, write the stuff you're less proud of. Social media approval, validation from strangers, comparison, ad percentages. Be brutally honest. Most people are shocked by what they find, but seeing it clearly is the first step to actually changing it. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at. Number 2, write down your insecurities and then read them back. Every embarrassing thing, every secret shame, everything you hide, write them all down. And then read them and ask yourself, if 100 other people did the same exercise, would these look any different from theirs? They wouldn't. They would look almost identical, because we are all hiding the same stuff. We are all carrying the same weight. The things you think make you uniquely broken are the things that make you perfectly human. Once you see that, really see it, the shame loses its grip. Number 3, stop explaining yourself for 1 week. Just 1 week. Make your decisions. Stand behind them. Don't justify. Don't over-explain. Don't preemptively defend. Just act and move forward. Notice how it feels. Notice the energy you get back. Notice how your relationship with yourself starts to shift when you stop constantly seeking permission from people around you. These 3 things alone, done consistently, will change the way you move through your life.